Hey, I'm going to tell you why you may want to sell your niche site or authority site or whatever your affiliate site is. So I've sold a couple of these sites, one for about 10,000 bucks and another one for about 235,000, is that right? Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to tell you about why you may want to sell it. Now, a lot of people would think, well, if you can sell a site, it is obviously making money. You have good cash flow, and for the site that I sold for, over six figures, well, it was making quite a lot of money. So I'll explain why you may want to sell it, and we'll go from there. All right, we got a few people in the house. Hopefully you can hear me. It appears as though, I'm not sure what happens, every now and then my web page just like closes, so there's some issue with it. All right. And let me just double check. It looks like everybody could hear me. Give me a shout in the chat. Let me know where you're from. Let me know what's going on. So we have Waquez and David. What's up? We have Furhan, one of my kind moderators. Welcome. Ronit, Emil, and Adrian. We have David and other David. Okay, David Rocher, don't worry about emailing me. I appreciate your offer, but yeah. Okay, let's see. People can hear me. People made it, and David is from Romania. Cool, cool. All right, from another David from LA. Davids are very active today. And Alabama, Wesley. We have Lane from North Carolina. All right. So if you're just joining up, we are going to talk about why you would want to sell a site. Let me give you some background on this stuff. So basically, I've sold a couple sites with Empire Flippers. Has anyone heard of Empire Flippers? And by the way, if you're watching the replay, you could also give me a shout in the comments too. Love to get comments and just hear where you're from and if you've heard of Empire Flippers, so that sort of thing. Anyhow, so Empire Flippers is a broker. They sell businesses. They focus on websites and web-based businesses. It could be, niche sites. They sell a whole lot of niche sites. That's actually kind of where they got their start. And the other, side of the coin is they sell just service businesses too, or software businesses. So it's just anything online, an online asset, business of some kind that can be sold. They could sell it for you. There's a couple others of them out there, and I see several people have not heard of Empire Flippers. It's actually it's not a show on Fox, but it sounds like it could be. It is it's a website broker, and basically you can listen to their podcast. That's how I found them. And they have, hundreds of episodes. Some of it is really sort of out of date. And let's see, just trying to monitor the chat. So anyway, Empire Flippers, they have a whole bunch of established buyers. They have a whole system in place. So when you list with Empire Flippers, you go through a short vetting process where they look at the site, they authenticate and verify like the earnings, the traffic, the backlinks, and just what you say about the site so that they know it's legit. It's a pretty straightforward process. The first site that I sold for 10,000, I think it was like 3+ years ago, and they took a little longer on that site. And I think, they were still establishing the process. In fact, they don't sell sites for that cheap anymore because they're sort of moving to the higher end of businesses. So that said, the more recent sale was in the summer of 2017. Basically, it took like 3 days or something like that to do the verifying. Super fast. You provide them with information in the application, and they just go through it really quickly and verify the stuff. They have a very tight system. And then the other part of the equation is the monthly, cash flow, the monthly profits, mainly around the monthly profit. So the value of the site is based on the monthly profit. So that means, top line revenue minus expenses, that's your profit. It could be for, content, hosting fees, link building, if you're doing like ongoing promotion, if you have a staff of some kind, all that comes into play. The sites that I sold had basically no regular monthly overhead. It was just like a hosting fee that was annual, so you can average that out over the basically the course of a year to give the monthly average, and it's fairly straightforward. As far as the valuation, thanks, Stephen. The valuation on average, like it's roughly around 30 times the average monthly profits. There are many factors involved. Part of it is around, how long the site's been around, how long the site's been earning money. Is it seasonal? The backlink profile, the quality of the site. Is there an email list involved? There's many little factors. It used to be, when I sold that site for $10,000, it was like a 20x multiple. Now the values went up. So I think they start at about, 25 or so for a younger site, and then they go up from there. Generally, if you're going to sell a site, it's probably a good idea to hang on to it for a few months, and make sure the earnings are higher. So if you just create a site and try and sell it really quickly, the value won't be as high. You don't have as much historical earnings and historical data to base the value on. So you're better off just hanging on to it for a little while. So, why would you want to sell a website? Any questions about the process as well? I'm going to take a look at the chat. So, let's see here. And I see Waquez is talking about some other website. I'm not sure Waquez. I'm not sure the reference point. But yeah, he sold a site. Lukeman sold a site, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure why you brought that up, but he sold a site. Yeah. Okay. As we're moving through, there's a couple of things. So number one, when I first sold the site for 10K, I started the site because I wanted to sell it. So I was very like methodical. I was sort of refining my process, which has changed. That site was from 3 years ago, so I did things a little different. It was a gray hat site for one, and then the other part is it was sort of uh, built with the homepage as an affiliate piece of content. I don't do that anymore. It was very affiliate oriented, and it was really a sign of the times. Like that's how people built sites. That's what you know, Pat Flynn did on his sites back in the day. That's what Spencer Hawes did. Basically, the homepage would get most of the traffic because it was affiliate content and you would get most of your links to the homepage. Nowadays, we don't really do that. It's more of like the micro niche sites that you would think of. So, um, the interesting part is like when you're planning on selling the site from the beginning, you could treat it a lot more like business like. And I had created a few sites at the time, so I just created this. I found some keywords that looked pretty good. I created the site. I got a few people to write some content about, I think, 20 to 25 posts or so, not too much. Most of it, about 80% or so, was affiliate content and reviews. It was a few best of posts, a couple individual reviews, a couple verses, and like I said, a very small number, maybe 2 or 3 helpful informational articles. And that was it. And then I moved on to link building. So I hired a few writers, had them write it, published it, very close to the perfect Amazon affiliate review format that I use currently. It's modular and, it's versatile. It holds up over time. So the content side wasn't, all that different other than, the homepage and the amount of content that I would go after. This was before the keyword golden ratio as well. Moving on to the link building portion, I did, the standard stuff. I had for gray hat link building, by the way. I don't do gray hat link building anymore. Another story for another time, but the link building started with I think like 2 to 3 Hoth platinum packages, and those are web 2.0 links. Basically, they build these sites on like wordpress.com, blogger.com. There's a bunch of other blog oriented sites like that, and they're free. And then they'll put some content on there that is maybe okay, maybe it's not very good at all. And then they'll put links on that page from their network, and they'll boost the basically like the link juice on the site. And then of course the web 2.0 passes link juice to your site. The other part of the link building, and the more important part, was the private blog networks. So I had a network at the time. I had a pretty big network, about uh, probably about 60 sites or so, and I put a bunch of links to that particular site. And it moved up in the rankings. I think it ranked number one for a term that got 720 searches per month with an average like price about $125, give or take 25 bucks probably. So when you put that all together, the site was able to make, pretty good money within really like about 2 months or so. So it showed good earnings, an average earning per month of, or not earnings, but profit, an average profit per month of $500 within about, 6 or 7 months or so. And I listed the site. It sold almost immediately within a week or so. The lower end prices tend to sell very fast, even to this day. So I need to cough really quick here. And the other part is the site for 235. So quickly, I'll tell the story about that. That site, again, I was the intention of, selling it was from the beginning for me when I got involved. So I had a partner bring me on, and I had special skills in the link building area for, White Hat. That was what the project was all about. This is the site project at White Hat. That site sold within, I think we had our check within 6 weeks or something like that. So when you're talking about selling a website that costs as much as like a small house or townhome or something, basically you it's amazing that it could sell within 6 weeks. So we had several offers in there. The process was roughly the same. Do the application, you pay a listing fee. Empire Flippers takes essentially uh 15% of the selling price after the listing fee. Is quite reasonable. The cool part is you can sell it fast, right? So you basically are able to like sell the site. You don't have to market it. You don't have to worry about that. They have a list of buyers. So, okay, and I'm going to take a pause here. So, a few questions came through. What's up, Barry? I see you on. And then Lane, um, why do I seem out of it? Just the coughing? Is that it? And quick note, so Waqez said that 10B sold within a week. So I got a frog in my throat or something. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, let's get back to it here. Da, 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 da. Okay, so we're moving on. So David said that, or how long does it take to sell, or how long did it take me to sell the site? So the first one for 10K sold within like a week. It took like another week to like transfer the site and like get everything done. So it was very fast. In fact, I mean, I think back then, again, 3 years ago, Empire Flippers, they didn't have as big of a team. They were still ironing out their processes and stuff. So I think it took like 3 weeks for the vetting process, if I recall. And then after that, it took like 3 weeks to do everything else, or 2 weeks to do everything else. So it was fairly fast. I mean, I wasn't in a hurry, but that's how it worked. And finally, right? So I'll answer another question here. Um, yeah, it is indeed. It is the chat. The chat's kind of it's hard to talk and read and try and process it at the same time. All right. So why would you want to sell the site? So number one thing, and finally getting to selling the site. So why would you want to sell it? Number one, if you want the cash up front. So basically, these days in 2018, you could sell a site for about 30 times your monthly profit. So you can get like, 2.5 years of your profits up front. So if you want or need the cash, right, you could pay off debt, for example. You can buy a car. You can, you know, put it into your child's college fund or whatever. If you need a chunk of money, it's a good way to get a bunch of capital fast. I mean, essentially, you're selling a business. And if you're making several thousand a month, it's probably one of the biggest transactions, like aside from a house, that you'll go through. And you'll end up with a very high amount of like just cash and capital all at once. And yeah, I'm not too out of it. Overall, I'm not tired. I actually slept super well, Lane. But yes, the chat, just trying to pay attention to the chat. It's much different to, and I may have to shift it a little bit where I turn off the chat while I'm presenting. The Q&A, I could just watch the chat, just go through it. But if I'm presenting something, it ends up being kind of a mess. So, and we don't even have any trolls on today, to my knowledge. All right, cool. And the other part, so number one, you can get a bunch of cash up front. The other part is things change, right? So there are different risk areas in the affiliate business model. One of them is on the traffic side. So if something happens with Google, if your rankings go down for some reason, if you get negative SEO, maybe you're using private blog networks, stuff like that, and your site could get penalized, then you have an issue, right? So if your traffic goes away, your revenue goes away. So there's a risk there inherently. Your risk can vary depending on, if you're doing white hat or gray hat or just how you're operating. The other part is the affiliate side. So great example like is last year, March 2017, Amazon changed the affiliate commission payout rates, and it changed from like a volume based um, commission rate to just category based. For new people, it didn't really matter, right? It still pays out well, still converts awesome. For people that were already making money in Amazon, generally their commission rates went down. It does depend on the product and category that you primarily sell, but I mean, regardless, people buy a combination of categories. And for the most part, if you were already making money on Amazon, you ended up making less, like quite a bit less. And for me, my revenue went down by like 35%, like overnight, nothing I could control. That said, if you sell the site, you get rid of that risk, right? You sell the site, you lose the cash flow, but you get rid of the risk and you get 2.5 years of your profits all up front. And that is attractive for some people, especially, there's some folks that they like to start new sites, or maybe they buy, you buy a site and then you improve it because let's say I buy a site and I happen to be good at putting a team on a piece of work and then executing it and hopefully getting, more traffic and more revenue. If that happens, then it's pretty straightforward to, buy a site, improve it, and then sell it. So if you have like cash flow in place, then that sort of flipping model can work pretty well. Okay. Couple other questions that came through. Did I sell the private blog network too? No, I did not. The Furhan says, how does the site transfer work? Do you just hand over the hosting account and transfer the domain ownership? Basically, Empire Flippers handles it. So that is another big thing that they do. If you're a WordPress developer or skilled at, hosting and setting things up, it's not a big deal. But for me, I don't want to do that stuff. I know it's not that hard. It perhaps would just take a few hours if you know what you're doing, but there's a lot of details and I would end up wasting a lot of time. So it's a pretty good value, or I guess pretty convenient, right? It's very convenient to have Empire Flippers do all that. If you hired someone on Upwork, I'm sure you could have them transfer it for way less than the 15% that they charge. So, okay. And Gregoris, what's up? Ali says, do I have a course for a beginner? You mean beginners that have no idea where and how to start? I do have a course called Five Figure Niche Site. Enrollment only opens about 4 times a year. So it is oriented towards, actually, beginners could come in and get started, but it also gets super advanced. I'm not even sure if I should have all that in the same course because it's like such a diverse set of people, but it seems to work well. Ali, I would recommend you just check out the free training on my channel. So if you're not subscribed, you should subscribe and then just start watching videos. You'll find out about that stuff. And Carl, you have a question about mastermind groups. Cool. I think I saw that you asked it in a comment, which I need to catch up on. Um, Thanks for saving it. Yeah. So Friday is the general Q&A. So if you just have, you know, random questions today, I may be able to answer like really quickly. But yeah, for mastermind groups, Carl, I will say there is a video that I think I talked to Nick about mastermind groups, and you could check that out if you just search on the channel for mastermind groups. But otherwise, I mean, basically, just form your own. That's what I've done. I've always formed my own. If you are the hub, if you pull it together, then you could pull in people that are better than you, that are more experienced, because it turns out people don't really like to set up meetings and set up agendas, and that happens to be what I used to do for my full-time job. So set up meetings, run meetings, it's super easy. So anyway, yeah, just make your own group. Can you guys hear that? Georgie's dreaming over there. Here. Oh. All right. And Barry says, you built your blog from scratch and you're asking if you would have a hard time selling it in the future because it's not WordPress. Potentially, if I know, it wouldn't be like, if it's making money, someone will buy it. So it's just a problem to solve. If it's, if it's straight like HTML or something, that would probably be easier to work with in like your own custom CMS or something like that. But I mean, there's a lot of CMSs out there. So if it's making money, someone's going to buy it. Don't worry about that. Again, it's just a problem to solve. It may be like a negotiating thing, but I mean, you could hire I mean, anyone could go hire someone on Upwork and have the site, migrated over. So in fact, there may be even tools to transfer it over. But if it's straight HTML, I think it's probably pretty easy to, there's nothing weird going on. Probably pretty easy to move it over, I would guess. All right. So quick recap. You can get a bunch of capital up front. So why would you want to sell a site? You can get a bunch of capital up front. And if you need that for something, again, paying off debt would probably be one of the most popular things you could do. You could also, use the money to invest in something else if you wanted to do that. Additionally, when you sell a site, you remove the risk that is inherent with, I mean, I mentioned the specifics for the affiliate business model, but any business has some kind of risk, right? If you have a restaurant, the laws in your local town may interfere with certain, aspects of your business. Or if you have a healthcare billing company, there's always laws changing, there's always policies changing in healthcare, at least here in the US. So you would potentially have risks in any sort of business or competition, right? If you're like a mechanic or a tire shop or something, a big chain could open up close by and then you have to deal with that. So there's always risks in any kind of business. It just, these external risks, you can get rid of them. If you have cash flow, you could sell your business. Of course, you give up the cash flow, but if you could do something better with it or something that you want to do with it, that's a viable reason to do it. And all right, Carl also says you'll pick brains in the Q&A about writers. You have a strong team, but you're losing control. Yeah. So, Carl, I know, I think I saw that question too. That's a good one. And if I remember right, you were like, you have a bunch of writers and it's getting complicated. There's a few ways to deal with it. But it's all like either, systems that are, more foolproof, i.e., like not mistake prone, where mistakes aren't made, right? Where it's easy to run, or you set up like middle management. This is the problem that I started to run into with my service-based business. I'm going off a little bit, but at one point I had like a service-based business for guest posting. By the way, if you want to make a lot of money, you can do guest posting and you can charge a lot of money for it. So if people are looking for ideas, it's easily, I spawned up like it would have been, a six figure ish per year, at least top line revenue. And the overall expenses were quite low. But what happens is, right, you end up with, um, a hierarchy, and I didn't want that was my old job. So like what you could do is set up um an org chart, and then you end up with a team of people, and that is precisely what my old job was, and that is exactly why I decided why I didn't want to do that. And I'm going to hold up a picture in a second so you can see this. And you could just, there's a lot of ways to do it, but you end up just scaling things in general. So that's you at the top, Carl, and then you could have a couple managers, and then those managers would have people that they, manage. The thing is, in general, from a management standpoint, you don't want to have more than like 6 people reporting to you because there's too many like communication channels. So I had a I had an issue with in my old job because I ended up with like 10 or 15 people, and I was like, this is dumb. I was, talking to my managers. I'm like, this is crazy. You really, we need to make the team smaller. I'm spending 15 hours a week just meeting one on one with people. And when people have trouble, like it's just kind of a mess. So you really only want to have like 6 people. So I ran out of room when I was drawing it, but each manager could have, say, 5 people that are reporting to them. And then you just interface with the managers. But I would ask, right? Why do you have that many people? Like, anyway, we could go over it more, Carl. It sounds honestly like if you want to sign up for a coaching session, let me know, because you're going over very specific stuff. And I think it may be too deep for a general Q&A session, but the picture I just drew should answer your question pretty well. But yeah, if you have like, 5, 6 people, you probably want to sign up for a coaching session. So, all right. The other part here, and keep the questions coming. Barry does mention that his site is Java based. So, yeah, you probably are way smarter than me on that stuff. So, I bet you already have a way that you could, pull out the information that you need. But yeah, I bet you could figure it out. Shafe says, okay, and what I'm gonna do if people are asking questions, just general questions, I'm just gonna put them in the Q&A for Friday. So I see Shafayat says, what metrics do I like check before pitching a guest post? Turns out the answer to that one's super easy. It's 0. I don't check any metrics, basically. So I'm just going to place this question so I can, it's good to have questions for the Q&A on Friday. By the way, if I've answered your question or you found this helpful in any way, could you hit the like button? Really would appreciate it. It helps other people find the um, the video. So if I answered your question or if you found it helpful, please click the like button. Additionally, if you're not live right now, you're watching the replay, you can still click the like button and leave a comment. So if you really liked it and you're watching live, feel free to come back and comment later and say it was really, really awesome. Okay. Are there any situations where you think it would be more lucrative to hire staff to take your place in managing the site as opposed to selling it? Sure, there's probably an endless number of situations where you can do that. But if you refer back to my thing before, I mean, I don't some people want to build a big team, they want to have like people working for them. I don't want that, right? Like if you hire people, you have to make sure they have enough work to do. You have to do management stuff. I don't really want to do that. I want to have like a very lean team and I don't want to build a big team. So it's not really about like making the most money possible. So that's not really how I make decisions. But to answer your question, yes, potentially it could be more lucrative to hire people to do it. Turns out, I mean, it doesn't take much work to run these sites in general unless you're doing something specific. Waquez says, your question is, does Empire Flippers charge 20% success fees? To my knowledge, no. I believe it is, and I don't know what success fee means. They they take a commission. I believe it's 15% unless they changed it. Robbie, what's up? And we have King. We got okay, King is the first time on. Good to have you. Wesley says, do I see sloppy sites with low income, 1 to 200 a month selling? You just made a site before you knew anything and you're considering selling it. Not with Empire Flippers. They have like a minimum like price that they work with, and I think it's 20K. So people do sell sites for that 100 to 200 dollars, and yeah, on Flippa. And that's one of the reasons why like Empire Flipper charges more. They just have higher quality clients, they have higher quality sites, and you're not going to see like lower end sites. They're like, Wesley, I know you said before you knew anything, so you made a site. It turns out that's great if you're making 100 to 200 a month. So you can for sure sell it. You probably won't get multiples as high as just what I mentioned, particularly if it's a newer site. You know, if it's less than 6 months old, most likely you're not going to be able to get the 30x profits. But let me know, Wesley. You could shoot me an email. Let me know every now and then. I'm actually looking at a couple smaller sites these days. Could make interesting case studies potentially. So let me know if the other thing, Wesley, is you could potentially move that site over to like another site where you know more like or you do things right because you know more now. Okay. David says, how does the exchange take place? You give your site to Empire Flippers, they get the money and give it to you afterwards. Yeah, basically that. So they have you can set it up in that like their escrow, and the money is held until it's released. So it's pretty seamless. I'm trying to remember if they use a specific escrow company or not, or if they just hold it. But yeah, it's essentially that. And Wesley says the site's 6 years old. You never touch it. It makes income off the tech niche. That's pretty good for 6 year. I mean, 6 year old site. You never touch it. That's pretty amazing. Yeah, shoot me an email. Let me know what's going on with it. Any other questions out there? Any other questions? And I will remind people there is just the normal Q&A on Friday. Be sure that I think you can set a reminder, but if you subscribe and click the bell, I think if you go to my channel, you can like set a reminder I've already scheduled it 10 a.m., same time, same place, 10 a.m. on Friday, where I just answer questions. And I'm actually going to place in a couple of the questions that people asked in here that were unrelated, like the one about the guest posting stuff. And by the way, if people are a couple things that I just put together that I want to point out, couple playlists. So keyword golden ratio playlist. If people are just getting started, I'm putting this in the chat here, but I'm trying to do more playlists. Do people watch playlists? Just curious in the chat or in the comments. Okay. Julia says, wasn't Empire Flippers AdSense Flippers back in the day? Yeah, that's right. They would churn up like these AdSense sites that would make a few, you know, I'm not sure how much, but $100 a month or something, and then they would flip them. So that's the whole flipper thing. They got started. It's kind of crazy. I need to maybe put together a video on this, but when you look back at who got started with niche sites and what they're doing now, a lot of people had their origin with niche sites. So Pat Flynn, niche sites, Empire Flippers, niche sites, Spencer Hawes, niche sites, Chris Guthrie, niche. I mean, like so many of those people, it was like this business model, and then they got into podcasting or software or both, and they put out plugins and they put out different apps and stuff like that. So I found them as they were rebranding, or maybe they stuck with the AdSense flippers for a little while, and then they went more broad and sort of rebranded a little bit. So they've definitely upped their game and their content. So I've also guest posted over there a couple times, and they have like a very tight editorial process at this point. So they have like an editor and a team of like proofreaders and stuff. They've outsourced it to another company, but they do awesome. Like it's a company that is they're writers, they're professional writers, and they figured out how to do like location independent stuff. And they're awesome. So when I submitted a guest post, we would go back and forth with like various edits, and it was edited multiple times by multiple people, so you end up with like a really high quality product. So people do watch it sounds like people do watch playlists. Well, this is interesting. I mean, there's 30 people on, and I know that if you're hanging on for this long while I'm just rambling, you're probably interested. I am trying to get like more playlists just with helpful videos, right? So I posted one, and there's a couple videos that are just about the keyword golden ratio, right? Keyword research related. I put together a couple. I mean, and you could do playlists like however you want from many different sources. So you could say put together, your favorite playlist with my content. That's what I'm trying to get you to do. I want my videos in playlists. So if you happen to, use playlists and you consolidate videos that you like that you know are helpful, maybe you watch a couple tutorials on keyword research tools and then you make a playlist with like my keyword research information, like maybe one of the live workshops or maybe the keyword golden ratio content. So anyway, I'm just throwing that out there. I'm very interested to see like what happens if like my videos are more in playlists. And like I said, I'm trying to put together my own playlists, some of which have my own content and some I mix in my own content with other people. So just trying to see, what happens and how that works. Okay, cool. Any other questions about selling a site? Faroz says, you're new and you want to make Amazon affiliate niche sites. Awesome. Check out some of the videos on the channel and you should be inspired to do that. There's tons of information. All right, I think we're wrapping it up here. So great, everyone. Thanks for hopping on. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed, do subscribe and you'll be able to, get notifications if you want them for when I go live. Other times, again, Friday is the Q&A time. So be sure you click the bell. 10 a.m. is same time, same place. So I usually just hop on and answer, whatever. All right, a couple other questions that are unrelated to what we talked about today or lightly related. So when does the course start again? It'll be April when it comes out again. While Quest says you're wondering how much content or traffic is needed to get approved on Amazon. There's no set amount. I recommend 10 pieces of content. As far as traffic, there's no minimum. And other Waquez, thanks for hopping on today. I appreciate you joining. We got Julius, we got Nick, Lace and Mags, and Barry. All right, thanks everyone. We'll see you next time, which is Friday. So have a great day. See you then.